Hey guys, and welcome back to the third episode of my GameSense 101 series. In this episode, we're going to be looking at 5 different clips of smart positioning by some of your favorite pro players, like Nate Hill, Vivid, and Tfue. For each clip, I'll break down why the player decided to position themselves the way they did, and hopefully help you integrate their decision-making strategies into your own game.
Let's go!
For the first clip, we see Tfue doing his signature Tfue Classic move. A Tfue Classic is when you have high ground on someone and shotgun them while placing a floor beneath you. This helps you keep high ground while also blocking any return fire from your opponent after you get a shot in. So what's important about this clip is understanding why Tfue decided to stay on the high ground and not completely drop down. Because he has a heavy, he wants to stay in the heavy's lethal damage range. Even when Tfue drops down, he still keeps high ground on his opponent, because if he stayed too high up, his pump damage would fall off. Now, the Tfue Classic is so effective here because he's the aggressor and his opponent only has 2 choices. Either to turtle up or go for low ground peaks before Tfue can build. But, because Tfue is on the high ground, he has the advantage in deciding where exactly he wants to strike. He can build out to the right and get a shot in when his opponents expect him to keep going straight, or he can drop down a level like he did in the clip. The other reason Tfue decided to stay on the high ground was because he had a pump and not a double barrel. With a double barrel, the best play would be to drop down completely and barrel stuff your opponent, as doing the Tfue Classic with the double barrel doesn't work at all. The lesson to be learned here is your positioning depends heavily on your loadout. You need to strategize and make decisions based on the guns you currently have, as Tfue does in this clip. For the second clip, we see Nate Hill in a fight in Tilted. Nate Hill impulses himself to get away from the opponent closing in on him, and then must decide where he wants to go. With the glider redeploy, he spots a ramp up on the side of the hill overlooking the building he was in. He lands there and takes out his opponent with a nice hunting rifle shot. This clip shows that, a lot of the time, a seemingly random position can often be the best one. At the core of Fortnite is a survival game. The first place Nate's opponent thought to look was the direction Nate had impulsed. This would be most people's reaction, as they know Nate must be low if he's impulsing away, so he is either behind the building or in it. Nate knew his opponent would think that, so he positioned himself in the least likely spot he would be, a pre-built ramp on the side of the hill behind him. Part of why players like Nate Hill are so good at the game is that their positioning alone can be used to outsmart their enemies. Any other position would have been found out immediately by Nate's opponent, but his creative and quick thinking position put him in the optimal position to get the kill and win the engagement. In the third clip, we have Vivid in an engagement with Demo inside of Tilted in a pub game. We see Vivid repeatedly peek, and right as Demo goes to take a shot, he ducks behind natural cover like the building's wall. What's impressive here is Vivid's combination of game sense and knowing how to anticipate Demo's shots, and his positioning when using the natural cover. In this whole clip, Vivid doesn't build at all to defend himself against Demo. This is why we see players like Nick Mercs and Aiden absolutely dominate in Tilted. Tilted is the best part of the map for using natural cover. Players who understand how to position themselves around it will consistently come out on top. Natural cover could be anything from walls and stairs to cars to even poles and trees. Natural cover allows you to be completely hidden and will a lot of the time provide more cover and protection than a wood wall. What's most important is realizing that with natural cover you have the advantage in peeking and outsmarting your opponent. With wood walls or ramps, your opponents can not only see through to see your positioning, but can also predict where you'll likely go. With natural cover, you can be creative and use this unique type of cover to your advantage, as Vivid does in this clip. The fourth clip is a scrim clip from Liquid 72 Hours as he's battling for high ground. Tom realizes the people fighting for high ground don't see him, and now is his time to go straight up. We see Tom do 90s and get high ground uncontested, as other people fighting for high ground either shot each other down or killed each other. This clip is important for scrims to understand why pro players practice 90s and playground fights so much. The place to use these techniques is in scrims when battling for high ground, and right now, because glider redeploy is still in the game, high ground is the best position in scrims. Low ground used to have many advantages, and high ground used to have disadvantages, but for now, high ground is by far the best spot to be in for late game in scrims. This clip shows us how Tom realizes he needs to get the high ground position. A lot of the time, it doesn't even need to be the ultimate high ground. In this clip, we see Poach going for a vantage point next to a hill during a fight. Poach isn't going for ultimate high. Instead, he's going for the best position, which is on the top of the side of the mountain they're next to.
I'm holding the mountain up here, and I'm gonna hold this. No, they're quad launching me too, I guess. I have it though.
In order to consistently win engagements, you need to find and decide on the best position to be in and fight for it. It can be low ground, mid ground, or high ground, but you need to decide upon it and position yourself there. For the time being though, as long as glider redeploy is in the game, you should be fighting for high ground in scrims if you have the utility and resources to do so. The last clip is from the Fall Skirmish Finals at TwitchCon. We see Ziff is just completely dominating and killing everyone from the low ground. With this clip, I wanted to focus on how dangerous you can be from the low ground, and how you can turn yourself into a low ground warrior when need be. The reason Ziff plays the low ground so well here is his opponents on the mid ground are all focused on what they think is the biggest threat, the people on high ground. Ziff realizes this and positions himself so he can get shots off without being seen or shot at the people on mid or high ground. He even shoots out some of the enemies to bring them to him and catch them off guard. The key to low ground peeking is realizing when you can and cannot do it. Sometimes you need to turtle if the enemy can damage you by more than you can do to him, but other times, like with Ziff in the low ground, this can be the most dangerous position on the map. Overall, your positioning can make or break a fight. You need to factor in where the enemies are, zone is, and what guns you have to make the decision on where you want to position yourself. Even with glider redeploy, positioning is and will always be the difference maker between a good and great player. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.